What's up? So I got a download that I want to share about the past. Maybe it'll help you to jog memory. This is just bits and pieces I'm putting together here to figure this out. So first off, we have to look at one thing. This is proton, neutron, electron. Okay? We have a 3 here, a 6 here, and a 9 here. Always goes into the same thing. So we have we can bring this closer. I don't want to lose the board nor myself. So we have the Heaven clan, like I'm on a ship, I'm receiving instructions, so let's find out. We have the Earth clan. We have the Cave clan as an underground. Mind you, this is a bare fragment. There's so much more. Underground clan. So we have fire, water, earth. Always comes back to this stuff. Then we have fire can also be /air. That can shift. So heaven represents the superconscious. I'm dyslexic, so if there's spelling errors, it's about you getting information. Then you have earth, which is conscious. Then we have cave, which is inner earth, subconscious. Again, we can go here, proton, neutron, electron. This can also all be arranged how the conscious fits. That the conscious, when it comes to Earth, is neutral. It has no idea. The subconscious is the proton, is the carrier of actually the knowledge of what is. In the electron is actually the programmable aspect that anything the mind conceive can be built. That really doesn't matter. Like from teleportation to anti-gravitic systems, all of these things that you can say, even if it's all fantasized, anything the mind can conceive can be put into physical form. And nothing will stop that. It'll take time, yes. You'll have people debating or trying to debunk. These are the resisting conscious particles, normal. But over time, it'll be developed. Like the hoverboard has been developed. It's a jet-driven board. Does 104 miles per hour. Check that online. And 10 years ago, you know, Back to the Future, 20 years ago, they said that that will never be. Because we're thinking magnets. Well, the guy was thinking jet. Right now, it's jet fuel, but at some point, we will also learn how to use gravitic systems, as in gravitational pulls, push and pull, and know how these forces work. We have the Heaven clan, Earth, and Cave. So when the calamities happened, Heaven had to go back to heaven, and part of the Earth people went into the underground. And some people also call Earth telos. Interesting. So they retreated. I haven't heard so much contact from this side, but I heard contact from the other side. Heaven, space, or other dimensions, that's what's up here. We have to find the magic 369, the proton, neutron, electron, instead of looking for a Higgs particle, which will never be found, guaranteed. We have to figure out what does this triad do here. Yeah. Also an input that came from my partner, and she channeled Trianon. And I found a guy who writes it different. He works on a 3-based light ray. Is an information that actually controls the subspace, and the subspace is the one that is in the flower of life, kind of looking like this. And these three things here connect that what makes the flower of life, and that's based on the Trianon. Let me add this ray. This is not entirely coming just from me. I'm putting pieces together of stuff that's been channeled. And the problem we have to deal with is, and I make that short, and this is for you to jog your memories. You don't have to understand a thing that I'm saying here. This is for you to remember and put your own pieces together, and at some point we will. So we have a 4th dimensional memo grid. Okay? That means all the wars, all the infiltration, draconian, all of that stuff, manipulation, holographic screening, other people's memory that are not yours and that are not actually right now. And they won't manifest in that manner. But these screenings come forth when people tell you they've been off planet. We have to make a difference between those who have the narrative, and then there are those with like Travis or Trevor Walton. Very phenomenal case is with physical evidence, and you have to concentrate on the physical evidence now. And I'm saying more than a piece of paper or a government or a blacked out thing or a signature or some colonel telling you something, like soil samples, things that can't be where they are. So side note, if you want to know Trevor Walton, it's just my gut feeling, is I shook the man's hands and looked into his eyes, and I know in my gut this guy has left Earth. There are other characters out there where I try to look into their eyes, they avoid me, or they can't look directly at me, or they have things or storylines where like I can't relate and I can't resonate, and I don't know. And what is that doing for me? The idea is to establish a sense of psyche where you can actually feel those things and have actually physical evidence, so we don't look so silly anymore. Like physical stuff that can be established for you to prove that something took place here that defies the law of physics. So back to the 4-dimensional memo grid. It's like in 2005 I studied the Mayan calendar and the Tzolk'in, and there's something that a lot of people that are on stage do not mention. That's why I made the movie Earth is No Longer Under Quarantine. We created somewhat of a memory quarantine grid, but this was not created by the extraterrestrials. This was created by our subconsciousness being memory based. Let me explain that to you. If you are a human species, okay, and for let's say 500,000 years, you know the difference between being psychic, being more extraterrestrial, and being human. Is that you can't stand a chance to fight a 15-foot Nibiran dude. So he will say, I'm God. So this is like a little bit more developed than you extraterrestrial. It's not like an ascended master or etherical being, very physical form, comes here with a physical machine, hops dimension, picks your spiritual leaders, makes them prophets, and creates religion. In the ancient times, Earth had no religion. There was no religion here. there wasn't the concept of God. There was the I and the Most High, as in the source, as in Ahau, as in the central sun of this galaxy. This is where you get your codes from. So the depicted God with the white beard and the finger from the sky was a Naburian ruler that kind of looked like Marduk, who was like 15 to 20 foot tall, bearded, muscular, and could overpower you like freaking Lord Vader in science fiction. But that's from the past. So here's the experiment. When you traumatize the human species with war, attacks, beruling, and ownership, and settling, and whatever status you invent, and you threaten them with the army that you have, they're shook. A lot of killing took place on this earth. And these things translate into trauma. When the brain is traumatized, it begins to compartmentalize the experience in the body. Okay? The emotional memory structure of the body, like your hard drive, is your muscle structure. So everything your forefathers remembered and have experienced, trauma, shock, and all of this stuff, is stored in you because you are their offspring. That's why it is also believed that the church in the ancient times, who was the government, invented torture. They were not stupid. Metaphysically, they thought, if we take this holy woman here, make her a witch, and torture the life out of her, her soul memory complex will think twice of coming back here, because she knows what to expect if she reveals knowledge or unfolds that. Male, female, it was done to us over and over. Heads got chopped. People that were more in tune with their soul were tortured or killed. The Bible has a story about, I think it was a King Herodot, if I'm not mistaken, feared the birth of the Messiah, and he looked for the blood type. It said it's type O negative. I can't confirm that, but what we can take bits and pieces from the Bible that are not so fragmented is he had potentials killed, like kids that would have magical powers or would be unusual or indigo or crystal. He had them all killed because he wanted to prevent the coming of somebody with such a skill. So these storylines have traumatized us to the point that we locked our pineal gland into a wave pattern where, like, if you develop that skill, if you open that up, they're going to come for you and they're going to kill you. So hence, we've crippled ourselves into nomads, as they say it in the Fantastic Beasts movies. The mundanes, those who don't want to have nothing to do with magic, those who think magic is not real. Magic is just a word for laws of life. Meaning, if you know the laws of life, and you know a little bit more about physics than regular physics does, as in Merlin, of course you're ahead of the game. And then you're not precarging, then you can actually see probabilities and probable timelines collapsing into what's going to happen because you have the sight. It means your brain computes a little bit faster. Biochemically, you can predict outcomes. When now we use computers for this, but we don't call it magic. Interestingly, is the computer is based on a silica chip that sings an electric, like has electrons running through it and goes, sings a melody, and these frequencies translate into what you see on the screen. It's pretty freaking magical. So in ancient times, an iPad would be called a glass pad or a crystalline pad. We now have that. We can create holograms. We have capacities to create. So what we have created through all these wars to protect us so from not experiencing that again, but by crippling us down and making the pineal gland smaller, like we have decreed that basically. We have created time wave distortion. Time wave distortion. So what is a time wave distortion? Real simple. Let's say you go back 100 years and we had to run a mile in, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes, which was probably a world record. And the entire belief system of the human race was like, okay, to run a mile, you need at least 10 to 15 minutes. If you're good, like 10 minutes. And then over time, beings came forth that had to beat that belief system that would say that's not, you can't go past that barrier, it's not happening. And then all of a sudden you have 8 minutes. And people were like, yeah, I don't even know how much further we can go with the speed by running, sprinting a mile. Now we're down to 4 minutes. But here's the thing is, before the 4-minute marker was breached, the belief system was set like you can't go further than this. That means you're creating a time wave distortion that doesn't allow that magic to occur. So if you have 1 million people against you in their belief system, they don't believe that you can run this, you have a very hard time psychically to break that barrier. Okay? You are immersed in the quagmire of non-believers that has an effect if you're not strong enough. Like a freak to be over that time wave. So when that 4-minute marker was broken, in the meantime we have 20,000 people that hit that marker now. It's no longer a world record at that specific level. And many seen, if he can do it, I can do it. And that creates a belief system in you, and that's part of the magic of how the theory of the 100th monkey. This is not talking visual. If people see that as possible, they will actually try to access that and make it happen. And then the time wave distortion dissolves. The same thing with contact. When the first people will see UFOs and more people will see that, and ships will stay longer in time and space for us to perceive, we will access that reality that they're actually all here and they have never left. So the time wave distortion of non-believers actually created a sheath that does not let you see what's there. And you have to break millions and millions of people that are used to the clouds or cloud shapes because they can't perceive anything beyond that. That's why when people go in the mountains, somewhere in Peru, psychedelic, they see clouds turning into ships. You're going past the barrier of the human psyche. And we are on the verge of breaking that now. And that was lifted. Let me show it to you. We had a time wave distortion that was unbreakable. This is 2012. And Terence McKenna and Dennis McKenna did the following. They studied the I Ching and all the oracles, Nostradamus, French prophets, which I don't know the name. But I'm just giving you, read the book Invisible Landscapes if you want to study that in depth. And they realized, let's say, I don't know, Napoleon, Waterloo, time compression high. Okay? Meaning the time density for three-dimensional dense thoughts, unmagical, unpsychic, unspiritual, not to be believed in, witches being hunted, witches being burned, you know, medieval times, spikes, dense, no hope. World War II, World War I, World War II. To heighten that stuff, 9/11. That's the difference spike. That was a dense time density, but we were thinking, okay, this is it for Earth, like there's no future, this is going to get radical and critical and bad, polarizing. But interestingly, by a couple of days, plus minus, overlapping all of these prophecies where time density was created. Also know this, atomic reactors create time density. They don't make it etheric or better, they make it badder, because when you split the atom, the unlight that you release is released for the next 20 to 50,000 years. That makes anything near that object basically unlivable, because everything that's based on central sun life is actually being torn apart. So this can't be, the atomic energy can't be the solution. And we have seen also the reports from Wilcock and things that I've read when I was 16, that these silos are systematically were shut down by craft that came in and said, we can turn this off. Like if we become a threat to other planets with atomic fission or fusion, we will be stopped. And we have been stopped. There's been reports from decorative generals. I mean, I've seen these guys retired and they're not under oath anymore, and they can talk, and they say that they had, throughout the country, all silos got shut down. Craft comes in, and all the armed heads that have triple circuitry and triple backup systems where you can't interfere, everything was shut down. That we have to understand, we are not in power here, and we're not smart with that, and there will be new energies coming in where all of this atomic stuff will be shut down. All of this will be shut down. There will be no use when we realize what free energy is. But back to the time density. Time density means there's a density on a level where ships and magics and elves and gnomes and elementals and helpless spirits and making contact is very, very difficult and very, very hard, because you have a density that's like a shield around Earth that didn't allow it. This was lifted 2012. The time wave compression dropped to 0 and went below. And that point here is called time wave 0. And that, in my dream, I was told that people don't understand. 5D doesn't. 5D is here, but how do you know? You realize 5D. 5D has to do with also realizing the synchronicities that you now. We're in the digital age. You know, before you had analog watches, and you wouldn't see 111 on a watch. But now you have a digital watch. Now you see it. So realize that you're beginning to understand the program matrix of this plane ET that you're in. And when you understand the program aspects and how that works, you're beginning to see, oh, that's a pattern here. That is for you and your higher self tuning in to realize, let us not do that again. You know, when you see how hard the learning process is, that since, can you believe it, the Vegas incident, we had 312 shootouts. This is being polarized till we outlaw what is non-essential for the forthcoming and the betterment and the better choice for the human race. And the big cities are not really supporting that. Look at California. Blessings and prayers go out to those who are near it, or if there are losses. But if it's too cramped up and too packed, you will receive a telepathic input. Like part of my fam, we're already getting together. We're being moved. Not me though. I was placed here a while ago, the safest spot on earth. And when we tune into, the field is open right now. Okay, the time wave distortion that was here was so thick you couldn't pierce it. But now, since 2012, if you make the effort to do your job, your ET's brothers and sisters can assist you if you do what you're purposefully here to do. And if you, let's say if you're a car salesman and your purpose is to open a bakery, then open a freaking bakery. If your purpose is to make monoatomic fruit juice, then make monoatomic fruit juice and stop working as a, I don't know, lawyer, because the cheddar is right. Everybody will have that, what you will actually require to have, as in what you call cheddar, when you make the better choice. And that's where your faith comes in. Knowing that you're a galactic being. That's not for everybody. Purpose is for everybody. Some of you are Earth incarnates, you have your Earth story, and you're all about the planet, and here's Earth. But we have 700 million starseeds that they know they're galactic beings. They know they're not from this planet. They have experienced, they channel the most phenomenal information, and we're not being heard yet on these big TV stations and radios. Our time will come. And I'm waiting for that day where the radio stations find, you know, people like us, also me, where it's kind of like in hip-hop. When I started, first the radio stations were kind of like really reluctant to pick me up. And then when the wave began, which I'm like systematically calling in now, all the radio stations lined up and had me, and then actually we get the ball going. I see, back then I did metaphysical hip-hop and studied technical engineering to fund that I can actually do my metaphysical rap stuff. So I did like 2 jobs to fund that, to go that route. So this, what comes in the dream is always connected with my entire life pattern. So what we are actually trying to beat is the 4th dimensional memory grid information. That people have stories of these wars, because you have cell memory that responds to that. And we're still responding to that, but it's actually right now, as long as you don't see a 15-foot Anunnaki giant standing next to me, it is not manifest. So do not get lost in storylines and narratives that capture the imagination and the phantasmagorical output of what was. We can only work with what we have here and create for the better future. So again, I was told, that is for you starseeds out there. Take the lead, and your ET brothers and sisters will match your efforts. That is the overall protocol. This is for starseeds. It's time to activate. It's time to get in gear, build your business, get your Etsy stores, do your music, distribute what you have to say, and show the world that you're very real. We've seen with the movie The Boy Who Lived Before, Boy recalls that we can return if we want to. Mary Rodwell, The New Human. Look at these kids that have skills that they can demonstrate, and it is deeper than somebody says that they can read the Akashic. Because I'll say also what people dabble with and what psychics dabble with, like if you want to read the Akashic records, I'll say 1542, where was I? Where was my essence? And if you can draw a picture of what I looked like, what I was dressed like, and where I was, and I can trace that in physical form, then we have something. Other than that, a lot of that stuff are narratives. And I'm an experiencer, and I know many experiencers, but I complained to my Arcturian council, and I said, if I don't have anything on any technology that does anything physical on this planet, I will have a very, very, very hard to find people that find that convincing. That it's not going to turn into a cult, that we have to establish institutions, as in factories, that produce a higher form of reality. And this is what we're here to do, and this is what I wanted to share with you. And most certainly, you know, to get out of memory whatever is not manifest in your life. Watch it like a movie, but don't make that the ultimate reality. It's like if you watch the movie The Crimes of Grindelwald with magic and all that stuff. That is a narrative by an author with mixed folklore and things put together from ancient times. But Grindelwald does not exist in that form. These are echoes from the past, from things that we have lived, and the memory is in if you get your body right. And I will repeat that in other videos. I will work on a course. Took me 20 years to put that stuff together, where when you take my course, you will have physical changes and knowledge of self, not religiously based. It's just based on the truth, which is the ultimate goal for us, is the highest pursuit. But that should be is what really is there to know. I don't want people to say I believe. It's more like I resonate or I do not resonate. People that don't understand also has been measured in hospitals have cognitive dissonance. That means I can say something and the person will be like an opponent or have an opposite reaction. That means you're not in resonance with what is being actually brought forth. What will bring people to the well of knowledge is when you run out of knowledge and the well goes dry. People or minds will begin to migrate to where the well is, and they will go to places where they feel understood, they feel heard. They all enrich one another. They share the energy, monetarily, product, barter, whatever you have, in a balanced manner, and that's the only future we have for sustainability of self. So look at the LA doesn't have its own well water. They need to import it. So we're overdone with the vortex energy of LA, that it has been milked. All of these towns back in the days, well, yeah, mining towns, profit and energy. Same goes for New York, Washington, San Francisco. We We have depleted the resources directly there, so we're importing. So now look at the fires and the densities of how things were built, how this collapses when you live in those areas or you become subject to that. We have to open up. I did road trips through America. There's so much land. Why? This is everybody has to pack it into one little thing. And you know that 20 rats in a shoebox will kill each other. 2 or 3 will make a living. So rural country is calling the starseeds. 5 to 10,000 people communities. Less stress, less tax, less running around, less highways that are done. In the big cities, the highways are done. LA stands still in the morning. I seen a piece of highway where you need 45 minutes drive, no traffic, to the airport, and we have driven 4.5 hours. To me, that is compact insanity, and it's coming to us. It's been said that California has to go through trials and tribulations. There's a crack in the continent of America. Earth is shifting, and sooner or later people will migrate. Some will rebuild, and they will be forced to rebuild and rebuild and rebuild till they understand you might want to migrate to where it's more profitable for your enterprise to set up shop, and the consciousness will be adjusted. And this call goes out to my starseeds brothers and sisters, and those who are interested, and those who are really engaged into expanding this here. Do not fall for the 4th dimensional memory grid, because that creates an uncreation of not possible. I leave my mind open to things that are possible, but I also say show me. So back in the days as an entertainer, I heard a lot of rappers talking about the skills they had, and I said, well, here's the stage, here's the microphone, show me. So if you can levitate, show me. If you have a magnetic motor that can run, let's say, for 200 years, show me. I'm still waiting. I will work on my own, but I'm not demonstrating anything that does not have any purpose or does not work for the human race. So right now, my magic crete I have developed that works. I have a fuel diviner that on most vehicles that I've tested works. I have videos that I showed proof. I save fuel by making a car phase conjugate, meaning the subatomic structure of the molecule and the flow hydrolysis in the fuel structure is being changed. Physics is my hobby. I had people try to test. I sent stuff out. The test, there's no debate. Stuff works. It's about bioresonance and getting in gear and making it bigger and better. And once the landscape is established with a group of people that we're all coming together right now, I will build bigger devices so you can come to retreats and sit in such Stargate type apparatuses to accelerate your cell structure into knowledge of self and becoming 360 degrees of self here realized over time, just by being in a field, not even having to study this and that. There's going to be a certain diet as in a way of life that will be introduced in classes, but it'll be life-changing. It'll give you more sight. You'll get more healthy. I mean, just me, when I structured myself, I lost like 30 pounds and my body just went whoop and recalibrated itself, and I'm keeping it that way. And that's the aim. Clarity, making your own decision, you rising into your own independence. So I'm just the coach for the time being to make you fit, not hooked, because that's what the old paradigm requires, is for you to return, stay sick, temporary relief, and nothing gets ever done. And we want to move away from that. So 5D is here, realize it is here, feel it is here, feel the resonance, open your heart more, but don't be ignorant. Have boundaries, use discernment, test it for yourself, question everything. Don't believe anything. See how does it feel, what's being done, what's put forth, what's being created, and who communicates clear, and who uses metaphors and nice storylines and narratives. But you know, it has to be tangible here for like, I can sense this, I can utilize this, I'm in good business, I'm paying my bills, you know, my stuff is in order, and what I put into comes in as a return. My root chakra is strengthened, and I deal with realistic goals, and that's what we're here for. On that note, I see you on the flip side. Peace.